Did your remarks signal the finality of any talks of a split?
Well, as you heard in my remarks, the council is open to maintaining dialogue. We're not defining what the nature of that dialogue would be. Other than the broad parameters of saying that we are committed to the unity of the church and to the advancement of our mission and vision. And we believe that we need to continue to have conversations about how we're going to do that when there's so much evidence of anxiety and division.
There have been accusations of a breach of confidentiality for discussions that happened yesterday, and others have said no, there really wasn't a breach. There was certain documents and names that were to be held confidential, but that had been agreement to allow concepts to be discussed by groups. Can you help clarify that issue for us about where the confidential lines were?
Sure. You have actually quite accurately reflected that we reached a point in the conversations where Bishop Brown and I, who were representing the Council of Bishops, as well as in the later stages of the conversation, 3 bishops from our central conferences, but we reached a stage where we thought it would be important to free persons to talk to constituent groups about concepts. And so I actually don't have a sense that confidentiality was breached. I think persons clearly and accurately read that we had released one another to start talking with one another. We limited our conversations in the Council of Bishops to pretty high-level conceptual ideas. There were, as you well know, there's been legislation proposed at this General Conference that would allow congregations to have an exit strategy, and there's been I believe there's legislation that's been proposed that would call for a plan of separation that would be designed by some kind of commission authorized by the General Conference. And so these are not new ideas, and as we began to have our conversations, these ideas, those 2 ideas, as well as many others, were on the table. So the fact that that has sort of captured everybody's imagination, I think, is because it's quite dramatic. But there was a full range of ideas that were on the table.
The response immediately after your address from several people on social media in the conference was that this was not an act of leadership from the Council of Bishops. How would you respond to those remarks?
Yeah, I've not seen the remarks, so I'll have to take your word for them, for that. The Council of Bishops is in an interesting position within the life of the church, because everybody wants us to lead, provided we're leading in their direction. And at the same time, our ability to, or our authority to lead, let me put it this way, our authority to lead in some directions is actually limited by our polity. And so I'm not surprised that there would be some who would say the bishops failed to demonstrate an act of leadership because they were looking for leadership in a particular direction. I can tell you what we were trying to accomplish, and I hope that came through in not only the content but the tone of my comments, and that is to acknowledge that we are broken. And in the midst of our brokenness, we believe that as shepherds of the flock, bishops of the church, we are called to maintain the unity of Christ, and to, as I tried to acknowledge, I hope forcefully enough, that much of that work has to begin at home, because the council itself is not all of one mind, and you know that.